Hi, this is Fred Green of Golf Smarter with the 9th appearance that Tony Manzoni made on Golf Smarter, number 457, that was recorded back in October 2014, 1 week after last week's episode. This one was a lot of fun because at this time in history, Tiger Woods was struggling with his game and his life. So I put it out there to Tony and I asked him what he would say to Tiger if he had gotten a call from his camp asking for advice from a community college golf coach that had an incredible record. After this week, there are 2 more episodes with Tony as we approach the end of our annual series as we spring back into golf season with Tony Manzoni. I hope you've been enjoying it. Tony's book, The Lost Fundamental, is available on Amazon, and his DVD, which we converted to a private link online, is also available when you write to me. For the most comprehensive information ever collected on Tony, please go to golfsmarter.com/Tony. Tony's all in lowercase. If you'd like access to the video, just write to me directly, golfsmarterpodcast@gmail.com, or click on the Hey Fred button when you visit golfsmarter.com. Part 2 of our conversation that picks up right where last week's episode ended. For members only, Golf Smarter number 457, published on October 7, 2014. If Tiger asked Tony Manzoni for help, what would he say?
This is Golf Smarter.
If just so happened Tiger Woods was listening to this podcast, it's I know it's not happening, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to give Tony Manzoni a call. Tiger Woods calls you and says, I could really use your help. I listened to what you had to say. It makes a lot of sense. What would you do for me? If Tiger called you and asked for your help, what would you do?
Well, after I got up off the floor. No, I mean, I mean, what I have to say to Tiger would take 15 minutes.
Really?
You
better charge a lot of money, man.
I would, if I did it, I would do it anonymously, and I wouldn't want anything for it because Tiger's really important for the game. You know, we're losing a lot of players, and Tiger's is like the Beatles. He's an icon, and whether you like what he did socially really doesn't matter. He's got a huge following, yes. And if he gets back to playing, which I predict he's going to come back stronger than ever.
Do you really?
I do. I really believe because I think he's on the right track. Look, physically, the guy's 18 years old. I don't care what his number is. He's in unbelievable shape, and he's the kind of guy that will always be in good shape. And if he just figures out his golf swing, and if he figures out how to stay connected through impact and keep that left arm high on the chest as he rotates his body, which he does on his irons, that's what blows my mind. It's like he's got 2 different swings. If he does that with the driver and he gets the ball in play, what is he going to shoot? Because he's a great putter, he's a great wedge player, and he's a great iron player. But the thing that has always killed him is that getting that first shot in play. And I think part of it is that, you know, he lost distance, but he lost distance because he bulked up so much. You know, do you remember when he was first on the tour, he had a 43.5-inch Titleist driver with a steel shaft, and he was literally killing it. But as he got bigger and bigger and bigger, I think that it affected his flexibility and speed. And then, you know, when you start losing a little distance, then you try to start picking it up. So now you get fast from the top and all, you know, because everybody's human in that respect. I mean, I used to be considered a long hitter, and now, you know, I can't see well, but I can see my ball stop, which is a nightmare because I'm not hitting it very far. I can hit it square, but listen, when you get to a certain age, that's going to happen. So work on your short game. But I think that's what happened with Tiger. Everybody started blowing him past him, so he felt like he was doing something wrong. I think it's just his physicality changed so much that, you know, he kind of got in the way of his speed. He's leaned out a little bit more, and he looks like he's fast again. When I watched him the few tournaments he came back before he got back off because of his injury started bothering him again, his swing looked really, really aggressive, but not out of control. He used to look like he was a little out of control with the driver.
And if he were to bulk up, after bulking up the way he did, would you suggest that he go to a shorter shaft driver or a longer one, or stay with the 43?
No, I wouldn't. Listen, Tiger has experts telling him what to do physically. I think that what I have my guys doing, we're doing weights, but we're doing low weights and high intensive exercises with very little time between the exercises. We try to do 100 bicep at 10 at a time, but with only 30 seconds between each rep or each grouping, and we're trying to get it down to 30. We're get it down to nothing so that you can do 100 in a row. Now, will we reach that goal? I don't think so, but we're going to get close. But as we progress each week, I can see that everyone is getting faster and we're taking less time, so the fatigue factor isn't as high. And I think that's the new trend in working out. If you're an athlete, you're not trying to get big Popeye muscles, you're just trying to get lean and mean. And this kind of exercise really shreds you, gets the fat off you, and it keeps, and you keep your flexibility. And I know that Tiger knows all about this stuff. This guy he knows a lot about a lot of things when it comes to sports.
He did go to Stanford. So this is interesting to me because you've seen the eras of athletes, not just golfers, but a lot of athletes who didn't pay that much attention to physical fitness. And now we're in an era where it's, even if you're only playing 6 to 8 months a year, you're working out all year long because the competition's so stiff, and it's a long season for everybody, no matter what sport you're playing. So you have to be in top physical shape. For golfers today, what would you recommend be the workout regimen, and what areas of focus would you put on the body? Would you focus on the lower part of the body, the legs, the arms? Would you work on stamina? Would you work on muscle building or core strengthening? Where would you go with this?
Well, I think the trend today, and I agree with it, is that they're working more on the core. They're working on arms and chest and back, along with the legs. Because we don't drive the legs through the ball like we used to, because our body's in a little different position. When you were tilted way back, where your head was way behind the ball, yeah, you had to drive your legs to get to the left side, and then you had to rotate, but you had to make a little sliding move. Well, no one is doing that. You don't see any sliders like in days gone by. So the top part is just as important as the bottom part, but you have to be careful. You have to know what you're doing, or you have to have someone help you in that regard, so that you don't use the wrong type of exercises. Again, golf is not a game where you need to be bulked up. It's a game where you need to be what we call cut, where you're shredded. That's the kind of body type you want. Now, there are some people that are bulky, and they have to swing the club a different way, but Tiger was a very thin kid. I had him in a tournament years and years ago called Kids for Kids, and he was 16 years old, and he was on the thin side. But he hit it out there 2 miles. He hit it out there. I remember that day, he was 16 years old. He hit it as far as he ever did on tour. Now, he had a longer swing, but his thing was speed. Tiger runs fast. He's a speed person, okay? He's not a guy he's not structurally built to be lifting heavy weight. He's structurally built to be like a cat, and I think he got away from that. I think maybe being around guys like Michael Jordan and everything, or workout freaks, I think he got into bodybuilding, and I think a mistake was made there. And I've seen he looks a little bit more. He's a little bit more cut looking now, as you should be. And I everyone needs to get into things like yoga, anything stretching. If you're really interested in golf, it's range of motion that's really important.
What do you do?
I've been doing a lot of stretching. I've been doing the high intensive exercises, interval exercises.
Like what?
I go on the net and look for anything that is related to golf and getting more flexibility, so I can get the club back a little bit farther, which just gives me more time to build momentum. I used to run a lot of 10Ks. I used to run the golf course every night. I used to go at the football field here at the college, and I'd run 20, 30 laps around the thing. And, so it was 4 or 5 miles. So I was running probably every day a good 10 miles. I don't have the inclination, the time, and the stamina to do it. But I still try to move. I'm always active. I think you've got to do that. Just forget golf, just for your overall health.
Yeah, I'm not a runner. Never have been.
If you run on grass, it's not too bad, but it tears you up.
I'm a swimmer.
You're a what?
Swimmer. I go swimming.
Oh, fantastic! Because you have resistance in every action you make, and it's
and zero impact.
Yeah. The only problem is that a lot of swimming pools have a lot of chemicals in it, so you're absorbing those chemicals. So that's, if you're going to do optimum thing, then you'd be swimming in a saltwater pool and not a typical pool.
Yeah. Actually, the public pool that I swim in is half saltwater, half chlorine.
Okay.
Yeah. I love the zero impact, and I love the complete resistance, but I also love just getting lost in my head, sure. Which I do. I'm sure you do with any kind of endurance thing.
Oh, sure. And I think every man, and well, for that matter, woman, but I can only speak from the man's point of view. I think every man should stay strong. There's no reason to be weak. There's no reason to get feeble. You can use light weights, but you can keep your muscle tone and you can keep your strength factor. I think a lot of people die too early because they get weak, and consequently so does their immune system. And I think there is a correlation to that. I know people that they were good athletes, worked hard, worked out all the time, and then they got to a certain point in time, and then they turn into a seal. They just blow up, and all of a sudden they die. Cholesterol goes up, everything malfunctions. Well, that's because everything stopped. So I'm an old guy, but I don't feel old, and I'm still strong. When I go out and work out in the gym with the boys, I can still keep up with them. But that's because I've always done that. Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend to anyone that's listening that get into a stretching program and get into some form of weight training, because even at 100 years old, if you can last that long, you can get stronger by resistance, by lifting weights.
Right.
All the rubber band stuff, okay, that's a little bit, but you put a weight in your hand and move it up and down. You're gonna get your muscle tone back, and you're gonna feel a hell of a lot better.
One of the comments you made earlier on, you said take the compensations out of the game.
Well, the compensation would be if I move to the right from my original starting position, then I've got to move back to the left. If I overwork my hands going back, where I cock the club back to where the shaft in my left arm don't create an L, but they create a V, because my wrist is cocked so far that the club is kind of hanging down past parallel, then I have to make a compensation to get it back into that position where I can just turn and just hang on. I don't have to do anything with my hands. So anything like that, any timing element that you're putting in, or you're trying to, I hear these teachers say you got to roll your hands through to hit the ball. Well,
that's hard.
If you're slicing the ball, that's a quick fix, but that's not the way to play golf.
And that's hard to do. It's amazing to me how people, these compensations that they try to make, they do it during the round. I mean, how many times have I heard someone say, "Oh, I lifted my head. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing wrong," and they really think that they're changing something. But the lifting the head is the most common one. "Oh, I lifted my head."
Yeah, you lifted your head, or I didn't get under it. That's another beauty. You don't get under a ball. You hit down on it to make it go up, and in most cases, your head went up, or you lost your spine angle, because it's called body propulsion. You're trying to propel an object up, so the body kind of lifts to do it. Again, that goes right back to trying to do something to the golf ball instead of letting that golf club in the loft and the lie angle dictate what that ball is going to do. And all you've got to do is swing that club from station 1 to station 2, and that's going to happen. Certainly, you have to have some kind of coordination. I'm not saying that you just do that and you're going to play perfect golf, but the more compensations that you put in your golf swing, fanning the club open, then you got to fan it back closed. The more you do that, you're just making the game harder.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's so true. It's so sad. It's so true. Tell me, and the last one on the golf side before we wrap this up. How can we eliminate that dreaded 40-yard shot? Why are we coming up 40 yards short of a hole when we don't want to have a 40-yard shot in our game and we don't have one in our bag?
Well, the only place that should happen would be, in my estimation, is on a par five, unless you just don't have the strength to get to the green in two, and a lot of people are in that position.
Then they're playing the wrong tee box.
Correct. And even though I say that, there's a lot of people that are not going to move up. They're going to stay where they are because that's just what they want.
That's the ego part of golf.
And then in that case, get your wedge and be like Lee Trevino. Hit 500 wedges a day. And then you'll hit that 40-yard shot, okay? The 40-yard shot's not a hard shot. It's one of those in-between shots where you're not taking it back really far. So you have to, I've got a couple of juniors that I teach, and we work on those shots a lot.
Yeah. I have a friend, every time, whether you're hitting from 30, 40, 50, or 80 or 120, if you land the ball on the green, he's going to go, nice shot. And it's like, to me, that's like, no, if I'm inside 100 yards or 120 yards, anywhere there, and I expect to be on the green on the next shot, but if I'm going to be that close, I want to be within 10, 15 feet of the hole, if not closer. I don't want to just be on the green and have a 60-foot putt.
Yeah, and you have to determine, good players know how far they hit a ball, and they know how to, if they have a 150-yard shot, they're not going to hit it 190 unless they catch a fly, or maybe they're a little excited because they made 2 or 3 birdies in a row or something. But generally, they can control distance, and if you can control distance, and first of all, you have to know how far you hit your club. So when you go through, especially your irons, when you go through your irons, you have to know, well, how far do I hit a 7-iron? And then you have to determine, okay, if I can max out a 7-iron, let's say 150 yards, and I have a 150-yard shot, certainly it would be smart to hit a 6-iron. Because I'm not going to max out every shot, and I'm going to mishit it a little bit. So, Ken Venturi told me that a long time ago when I worked with him, and he said, you're better served to take one more club than you think it is almost every single time. He said, think, in terms of all the rounds you played, how many times were you past the pin? And it's so true.
Right.
It's so true. So those are little elements that we have to deal with when we play, but distance control is very important. So you have to establish where you hit a ball. But when getting back to that 40-yard shot, look, the 40-yard shot, you're connected. You rotate your body in such a fashion that you hit it 40 yards. You rotate a little bit more, you hit it 60 or 70. You rotate it a little less, you hit it 30. But if you're trying to do that with hand action, now you got a problem. Now you got a real problem, because especially when you had that 40-yard shot, there's a little voice in your head. Don't thin it, don't scull it. Don't do this. So you need a fail-safe action in your swing that is going to give you that shot or somewhere near that without any fear. But when we start working those hands, especially if you get a tight lie or maybe a funky lie, that's when all hell breaks loose, and you're near the green in regulation, and you end up with a triple bogey because you're trying to do it a harder way than you need to.
And that's when the mental game gets really large, because you start freaking out about that shot.
Well, yeah, but if you're a rotary player and you rotate from driver to wedge, it's not going to be so hard because you're not basing the result on your timing. And look, when you're playing for a few bucks, or it's a tournament or a club championship, and you get a little nervous, and everybody does, and you get a little scared, and everybody does, the first thing that runs down your leg is your eye-hand coordination. So you better have something that you're doing with those big dumb muscles instead of those little, when you get nervous, what happens? Your hands shake, or when your adrenaline gets up. So your adrenaline is always going to get up. Unless you're taking beta blockers, and that's not good. So we've got to play through our adrenaline, and we have to have a process that allows us to do that.
I want to give you one last chance to explain to us what the Lost Fundamental is, what the book is, and why we should own it, and the DVD.
I think the Lost Fundamental book, I think it's the result of all the years that I've studied this game. And I came up with the thought that, who played the game for a long time, who played the game when they were really horrible in the beginning, and who became one of the greatest players, shot makers anyway, of all time. That was Ben Hogan. I started studying Ben Hogan, and I saw the subtle changes, especially after his accident, and I saw that he stayed more centered to the ball. So he played off of one axis, or in the old days they say we played off the left side. Nothing to do with stack and tilt. That's what they called it. We played off the left side. So they played off of one axis. So that's really important, not to go to the right leg axis and then back to the left leg axis. That's what the book talks about. The second part it talks about is the connection of the left arm to the pectoral muscle and how that left arm works as a lever that is being moved back and forth by the turning of the body, turning to the right and turning to the left. And that lever stays consistent in its form so that the club face stays square a long time. That's another part of the action. The rest of it is setup. I believe you have to set up 60-40 and so forth. So those three elements, if I can get you to set up properly and you have a decent grip, a comfortable grip, and I can get you to rotate, turn your right side behind you, and then turn the right side through the ball so that the left side goes level left and your left arm stays connected. If those elements happen in the swing, you're going to hit the ball pretty darn good. I've got two juniors. One gal I've been working with 3 years, and she is crazy good. She just played in a high school match. She shot 30 because they only play 9-hole matches. She shot 30, and then she played in a 2-day invitational, broke the record in that. I've got an 8-year-old Chinese boy.
Wait a minute. The 30 was with a couple par fives, or the par five and a couple par threes?
Yeah, she played. For 9 holes. Yeah,
a regular 18-hole course, but she
regular 18-hole
and she taught 30.
So that was the lowest in our Coachella Valley of anybody that's ever played, male or female. Okay, wow. And then the next day she played in a 2-day event, broke the record in that. So why is all of a sudden she can do these things? And that's because she's learned to play this game without a lot of compensations because she gets scared as heck. She calls in and says, "Coach, this is really a big tournament, blah, blah, blah." And I say, "Look, you've prepared yourself. You work hard. Now just go play the game. You can't be thinking about how to do it when you're out there playing. You got to play the game. You got to react to the target, not to the ball." And she's proving my point. And this little 8-year-old, I'll tell you what, Fred, if you ever seen him hit a ball, you want to sell your clubs. It's just crazy how pure he hits it. Now, a lot of it he got, believe it or not, he learned to play by watching golf on the Golf Channel.
Wow.
And then I've taken it from there, improved his grip, but I haven't messed too much with that swing because it's just a fabulous swing. And he chips so good that I literally said to him, "What do you think about when you chip?" Because I was trying to get a tip because he's so solid through impact. So when I see that kind of stuff, I can be part of it. And I mean, that's, it's the greatest. Yeah. And their minds are real clear. The more we know about golf, the harder the game gets because we complicate it with a lot of facts and figures. If you learn those three little things I told you about, good setup and connection and rotation, and if you can just focus on that and get the feel of that, man, you can go out and play and enjoy yourself.
Lots of times I'll receive emails from Golf Smarter listeners who are saying, "Okay, I'm really intrigued by what Tony Manzoni says, and I don't know, should I get the book or should I get the DVD?" And I always tell them just get both. But if they had to make a choice, what are the differences that they're going to notice between the book and the DVD?
Truthfully, I think I would get the book. There's some nice little stories in the back of the book that I think kind of give you a sense of who I am. But also in the book, you can line some areas, yellow mark some areas that are very pertinent, and you can keep going back to the book. The DVD, it's a good DVD. I'm not going to say but there's a lot of music and falderall. I did that because everyone said you need to make a DVD with the book. But the book is, for me, a little bit better. The optimum would be 2, because then you can see my stupid face, and and some of the things I do. But you see my little girl that is in there. That's when I was starting her. You can see how good she swings, and it's an interesting video. But if I could only have one, it would be the book for sure.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty since you just lost $10.
Well, you know what? Most people can afford another $10.
Yeah.
So if I was buying, I mean, I'm not a super wealthy guy, but I'd buy both. If I bought the book, I would certainly go get the tape because I want to see if there's something there that. Because sometimes we learn more visually than
exactly
looking at something. So,
no one has ever written back to me say, you know what, it was a waste of my money. And you've had Golf Smarter listeners travel across the country to come take lessons with you, right?
I've given quite a few lessons, Fred, and I know I haven't sent you a check, but I'm thinking about it. But I've had a lot of people, and I also get? I get a lot of letters from someone saying, okay, I'm really hitting the driver good, but I'm doing this with the iron, or I'm doing that. Yeah. And I welcome that because I can give you the answer. I don't need to see your golf swing. You just tell me what the ball's doing. I'll tell you what you're doing.
Wow.
So I love doing that. And I got 3 areas to hit. Are you setting up, level to the ball, centered to the ball? Are you 60-40? Is your left arm dropping in first move, or is it staying up high on that chest as you rotate your chest? Those things, they're easily said. If someone tells me I'm pulling everything, then I know their arms are going first. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or if I'm hooking everything, I know their arms are going first. The club head should be last coming through. It shouldn't be first. It shouldn't be going ahead of your body. Your body should be pulling through. So these are real simple fixes. And any golf pro knows this stuff. I don't have a... I'm the only one that doesn't have a handle on this. I should say, I'm not the only one that knows this. There's a lot of good golf pros out there that are good teachers. But I tell you what, this is a never-ending school. I tell my students, once you start getting into researching golf, you will never graduate because there's always a move. There's always a little tightening up of the bolts that's beneficial.
Yep. Well, listen, I am scheduled to come down to the Palm Desert area just after Thanksgiving. I'll be there for a week, and if all goes well and it's not like my last trip where things got disrupted, let's get together. I'll bring some video. I'll bring my recording gear. We'll sit down. We'll have another conversation with Golf Smarter. Maybe we'll go out and play golf together, and we can do like a playing lesson, and we can grab some video of that. What do you think?
That would be great. I would enjoy doing that. I want to see your action and find out how many strokes I get.
Oh yeah, right.
And then I really seriously, I would really like to do that. And
that'd be great.
We can talk about strategies on the golf course.
I love that
kind of thing because there's a lot to that part of it too.
Well, Tony, it's always my joy. I love talking to you about golf. I'm always entertained, but I always walk away with a handful of nuggets that make my game better. Thank you so much.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, Fred, I really thank you. As I've said in the past, and I will repeat, your site is the best site, I think, in golf, really. It's very informative. There's a lot of great product on there. I'm glad and honored to be part of it. And I do feel like I'm part of the family. I love that.